Hey, what's up guys? Node Investor here. I'm going to be posting a quick portion of the live stream that I did earlier today with the members of the Node Insiders and our private Slack group. As you know, many of you have seen the price action today. BTC had a quick breakout over 9K, really got things going, and then it was a very quick reversal on very high volume, looking bearish absolutely. And so I jumped on a live stream for members of our group. We were going to do one anyway today. I was planning to update everybody on kind of my current open trades, profit targets, stop loss levels, all that good stuff. I ended up closing out all of my trades, booking the gains that I had on some of those, and just stepping aside. And this is really the first time in quite some time that instead of closing out into BTC, I've decided to start closing out into cash and cash equivalents, Tether, USD, all that stuff. And again, keep in mind, this is on my trading accounts, long-term holds, just really nothing for me to do at the moment. But this video here today is just really the first portion of the live stream, and we're just looking at the BTC charts. Thought I'd share that with you guys to kind of just give you a quick update on my thoughts in regards to the price action in Bitcoin and some of the levels to be watching here today and over the coming days. And then after that, we kind of just went in through, chart by chart and some of the alts we were looking at. But this video here is just the Bitcoin portion. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy. Take care. Okay, cool. So looking at the Bitcoin price action here first, we saw that breakout earlier. It was a failed breakout attempt. Generally negative, bearish. Don't like to see that. You see this failed push higher followed by some high volume selling. You can see that here in the chart. A very big candle to the downside. Typically a very negative sign. Now there's still almost 3 hours left in this candle, this 4-hour candle. So a lot could happen. If it closed here, this is the 4-hour chart. If it closed here, the way it looks now, this would be a sell signal for me. This would be an exit to just step aside, let things kind of settle out, and then wait to see if it can recapture that 9K level. So that's the way I'm treating it here. Just because there's so much time left, I have decided to start scaling out. This is the first time in, quite some time that I've actually raised some Tether again. So primarily I've just been moving back into Bitcoin, looking for alts, popping back and forth, and just kind of riding out the wiggles in BTC here. But the reason I'm a little bit more cautious here now is because if we go to the daily chart, we know it's extended. If we look at the weekly chart, we know it's extended, and it's kind of due for a pause pullback. Is this the beginning of the pullback? Is this the beginning of the pause? Who knows? Just all things being equal, looking at the daily chart, technically still in an uptrend, technically still above the breakout points, right? 8,200. If you wanted to be a little bit more conservative, you can say as long as it holds above 8,400. And so from that perspective, everything technically is fine. I mean, it's okay. There's nothing here signaling that's the end of the move, right? On the shorter time frames, yes, definitely a little bit bearish looking, especially with volume spiking. I'm gonna take the approach of shoot first, ask questions later, and so I just don't like the way it's looking. It's always, I can always just jump back in. So for me, I'm gonna just clear the deck, and then just kind of regroup, take an objective look at the markets without having open positions and feeling the pressure of that, and then go from there. And if I decide, hey, this is a good pullback entry, I'll jump back in. If it's a time to just wait and see what happens next, then that's the way it's going to be. So just taking that approach here. So the other thing to note here, so going back to just kind of looking at the trend, clearly still above. If you wanted to set some clear stop levels, the levels I'd be watching here, right, that 8,400 level breakout point, let me zoom in there, right, that was the top of this wick back here. Thank you for confirming that. That was the top of this wick back here, and the 10 EMA on the daily has now caught up to that point. And so that's kind of a must hold level on a closing basis. If it wicks below and pops right back above and starts to resume the trend, then that's fine. Everyone's kind of different risk tolerance, depending on where you got in, how much room you're willing to give it, all that stuff's going to certainly play a factor. But if you just bought the breakout, for example, then you probably don't want to give it much room below that, right? Because then that would really start to say, hey, this is probably a failed breakout. The next level I would look at, if you wanted to give it a little bit more room, would be 8,200, and that was really the breakout level for me, right? A lot of people were waiting for 8,400. For me, 8,200 was the breakout level, and so that's what I'd be looking at, and that'd be right smack in the middle between the, let me clear this lower trend line, between the 10 EMA, which is currently right around 8,350, and the 22 EMA, which is still way down here at 7,800, and so that 8,200, right, 8,000 level on a closing basis, basically, if it undoes this impulse candle, right, if it starts to lose the low of that candle, that tells you that that was it, right? That was a breakout attempt, pulled back. You should have seen some follow through to the upside. If it just rolls over, you know, and it's one of those failed breakout attempts and it undercuts that candle, generally that's a pretty good sell signal. You may see a rally into that resistance that was prior breakout and then failing and then going from there. So those are some levels I'd be watching if you're looking for, you know, what are some levels, some ideas to watch for a potential stop point. That's what I'd be looking at. Again, this is using the daily chart, so this is bigger picture. This is ideal time frame if you're kind of riding the broader trend, looking for the swing. If we go to the weekly chart, oh, before I move off the daily, of course, I mentioned this yesterday in my video as a potential bearish divergence showing up here as we've pushed into new highs again. We've seen this before, and they have in the past. The last couple of them just kind of resolved themselves as price went sideways, consolidated, and broke out again. So, not necessarily the end of the rally, but you could be in for another, another couple of days, week or so of sideways chop. Let this thing cool off, and then if it gets going again, then here we go, resuming a new swing up. But at some point, it's like how many times is that going to do it before it's finally like, okay, that's it, that's the end of the broader swing, and we're due for a little bit more of a prolonged downtrend, right? Something where prices start actually going below the moving averages. To this point, we've not closed below the 22 EMA on this daily chart. It's clearly been higher. The 10 EMA has clearly been above the 22, and so to this point, the trend has remained in place. There's been some shakeout attempts here. Some of these are news driven, FUD, all that stuff, but quickly has been recovered. 9,000 certainly is a psychological level. It's a little bit of a wall. That's kind of was the first target on the move up. We've basically hit that today, and then the next level up above that was basically 9,800. Will we get there? Who knows? If we go to that weekly chart here, I alluded to this yesterday in the video, just the fact that this has been an incredible rally with very few red weeks along the way. There's actually 2 red weeks here. If you look at the tether pair, there was only 1 red week, but just sideways action, and then just straight up another red week way back here, and 3 technically red weeks since February, which is just amazing, right? And the fact that those weren't even barely red weeks, they were just kind of flat, choppy weeks, consolidation weeks. At some point, you're going to need to set a higher low on the weekly chart, right? Some sort of pullback for things to get going again. Where does that higher low land? It's anyone's guess. Is it the moving average? And I mentioned this in my last live stream, and people were kind of like, "What? You're crazy! Like, we'll never see those prices again." But it's realistic, and it actually would be very healthy if we saw the 6Ks again, right? If you saw this pullback, a 30% retracement to the upper 6Ks, would be very healthy and would kind of reset some things. And so that's kind of the deeper level I'd be looking at if we started a bigger correction, right? If you did the entire move since February, that puts you right at the 382 retracement level, 6880, so basically 6900, and then 50% puts you at 6200. And so those are some of the levels to be watching on the weekly chart if things begin to, I wouldn't say roll over, but really start to pull back, and you get kind of a normal retracement along the way in the big picture. In my opinion, that would be very healthy. That would set up a good opportunity for potential longer term additions if you're looking for kind of a place to start adding again, right at the end of this pullback. Once it starts to resume the uptrend, then that's what I'm going to be looking for, is another place to begin scaling some more back in for the longer term, as well as the alts, which we'll look at in more detail here shortly. So just some big picture macro views to keep an eye on here. But let's zoom in here again, going to that 4-hour chart again. Very bearish volume at this point. There's a lot of time left still before this 4-hour candle closes. It could completely rally back and close here at the upper half. In that case, if it closed back above 8,800, that would look positive, but it would still create a pretty big hanging man candle on high volume, still kind of technically bearish. So for me, like I said at the start of the stream, this is the first time in quite some time that I've, you know, just scaled out a little bit more into Tether. Normally I've just been booking into BTC, letting things play out and then going back. But if this is the beginning of a pullback for Bitcoin, and I'm not saying it is, but it feels like it at the moment. And of course, there's no confirmation if, you know, until it closes below this breakout point. But if it's the beginning of a broader pullback, I expect the alts will feel a little pain here as well before they begin to resume the uptrend. So just something to make note of. On the very short term, this is the level to watch here, right? That low over the wick, and then of course the breakout point. So, you know, 8,400 and then 8,200 is kind of the two key levels, round numbers to be watching here in the very near term. So today, tomorrow, that's what I'm going to be watching here. It's going to be an interesting day. It's been a pretty wild week. We had the breakout here on the weekend. Some very positive altcoin action here the last couple of days. Maybe has run its course for now. So we'll see.